Hello, good afternoon. This is Growth Habits with Ngozi, coming to you once again live from the beautiful city of Port Harcourt, Rivers State. So, who is here with me this afternoon? Every Tuesday, 12 noon is the time. So thank you all that join me every single Tuesday. You take your time out. Okay, yes, so sorry. My apologies for that break in transmission. It was due to network failure. Those of us here in Nigeria, we understand what that means. So, yes, I was welcoming each and every one of us to Growth Habits and telling us that we are here every Tuesday. Remember, I'm your personal guide on the journey of growth. I take you by the hand, I lead you on this journey. So, we've been on this journey for 21 sessions now. That is, okay, it's not 21 weeks because initially we Oh wow, I apologize for that break once again. Today is an interesting day from what I can see. So I was welcoming each and every one of us to Growth Habits and telling us that this is a journey and that we go on the journey together. I'm your personal guide and I take you by the hand and I also go on this journey with you. I don't leave anyone behind. We walk it out together. And like I was saying, this is our 21st session. My goodness, we've come a long way. We've come a real long way. And as we usually do, we do a recap. But as I was saying last week, we're going to have to begin to do these recaps like maybe just the last 5 sessions because they are becoming so many and it takes quite a bit of our time to recap all that we have done in the previous sessions. But for today, I will still do the full recap from session 1. And so welcome everyone once again. Welcome those that will watch on the replay. I know this timing for some people may not be the best, so they come on the replay and they watch. So, I'll recap. All right. Session 1, we talked about growth generally, and we agreed that growth is a process. It doesn't actually end, but you can have a point where you want to grow to. And when you get to that point, then you adjust and begin the next leg of the journey. So growth is a process. The second session, we talked about growth being a mindset, having the right mindset to grow. And that is a mindset that believes that you can, and not the one that is limited by what was in your past or by what is happening to you presently, but a mindset that believes that you can. Our third session, we talked about optimizing our daily habits. And please, when you join me, please do let me know that you're here. And if possible, let me know where you are joining me from. All right, so we go on with the recap. The third session, we talked about optimizing our daily habits, the things we do daily. See, because it's our habits that actually make up who we are. The things we do every day, they determine the kind of persons we are. And we need to also, in determining those things that we will be doing every day to grow, we have to understand who we are and then align those habits to who we are. In our fourth session, we talked about our circle of friends, and we agreed that it is so important to have the right people with you, the right support system that will help you, that will go with you on this journey of growth. We are specific about 2 types of people you must have. Somebody that is going on the same journey you are, who's in the same place you are, and someone that has already gone on that journey that can show you the way. Okay, our fifth session, we talked about measuring growth, and you can't measure what you don't have data for. That is why it's very important that we keep a record of our growth journey so that we can measure how far we have come, to know whether we are just, marking time or we are actually making some good progress. Okay, our 6th session, we talked about balancing inputs and outputs. And we concentrated on our inputs. And the input we talked more about was rest. Being able to rest physically, emotionally, spiritually, creatively, every wise rest. Very, very important and very key if you truly want to grow. In our 7th session, we talked about coming out of your comfort zone. We established that nothing grows in that comfort zone. You can stay there for the next 100 years and you don't achieve anything. This place seems so quiet today. I'm not seeing comments. I don't know if it's the network that is affecting it, because we can see that we started with the problem in our 9th session. Okay, the network is so unfriendly today, but we will pull through, whether the network likes it or not. All right, so we were talking about learning from people who inspire you. That was our 9th session. Yes, 9th. We all have people that inspire us, but most times we just follow them, we just study their lives, and we're not really learning. We're not being intentional to learn something from their lives. So we need to learn from people who inspire us. Our 10th session, we talked about dealing with difficult people. They exist. They will always exist. No way that you will not have difficult people around you, but we learn how to deal with them, and we learn how to deal with them with love, understanding that possibly there is something at the back that's making them act the way that they act. All right, in our 11th session, we talked about letting go of the past. You can't move far carrying the luggage of yesterday. It will always weigh down, always. So let go of the past and move forward. In our 12th session, we had a question and answer based on the things we have discussed, and we attended to some people's questions and answers. In our 13th and 14th session, welcome, Tonya Funanya. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. At least now that I can see one comment, I know that I'm not alone, because all this while I could see no comments. I didn't even know if anybody was here. I couldn't see anything. So welcome. Thank you for joining me. Okay, part of the recap on our 13th and 14th sessions, we talked about visualizing your success, being able to see you at that future place, at that point of, where you think you want to get to. For example, you want to get married. You see yourself married. You see yourself as a married woman. So visualize your success. And we also talked about having a vision board to help you see. Because what you can see, you can actually become. If you're not able to see it, even in your mind's eye, it's very difficult for you to achieve it. All right, in our 15th, from the 15th, 16th, and 17th session, we talked about our businesses, because growth happens everywhere. It happens in our business, it happens in our career, it happens in work, happens in life, happens in our spirituality, happens in our emotions, and we are talking about growth on all these levels. So we dealt a bit with our businesses for those 3 sessions. First of all, we talked about knowing your why. Why are you in business? What problem are you solving? What solution are you providing? It shouldn't just be about making money. You will make money for sure in your business, but you need to understand why you are truly in business, because that is what will propel you. That's what will drive you when maybe the sales are not coming like you want, when things are still slow and you're trying to grow. If you don't have a why driving you, you'll probably give up. So know your why. The 16th session, we talked about learning every detail of your business. We had, a special guest that came, Funanya, and she set the whole place on fire, and she made us understand that you have to understand your business, every detail of it, everything there is to know. Take out that time and study. Take out that time and learn. By the time the opportunity comes for your business to expand, you have known all and you are ready for that expansion. You are ready for that new level. The next session, the 17th session, we talked about dedicating yourself to customer service, and we were particular about giving people a customer experience, not just customer service, not just I answered your call, not just I showed you some pictures, but they should leave the interaction with your business with a beautiful feeling, with a feeling of wellness, with a joyful feeling. I don't know which other word to use and explain it, but give people a good customer experience for having dealt with your business. Okay, then we moved on to growth in our careers. That's this 18th, 19th, 20th session so far. Yes, we talked about growth in your career, and this is my forte. I've been a career woman all my life. I've always worked. So we started with developing a clear sense of direction. Most people that work just join a company and they just begin to work. There's no direction. There's no sense of, okay, this is where I want to get to in this company. This is how far I want to go in this company. My apologies today. The network is not friendly. I don't know what's happening, but we move. So we talked about developing a clear sense of direction in your career. Know where you want to go in this company, in this career path. You have to even find out the career path, because every job has a career path. It has a place it should lead to. So find it out, map it out and follow it. Then we talked about doing what you love to do in our 19th session. And we said that even if you're already working and maybe what you're doing now is not really what makes you happy, it's not really what you want to do, you can still find a way to bring in what makes you happy into what you're doing currently. But if you have not started working, try to make the work that you are doing be something you love. Look for jobs that align with what you love. Then last week, the 20th session, we talked about believing in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, I don't know how you expect others to believe in you. So believe in yourself. Trust in your abilities. Know what you can do. Like I told us that last week, God did not create anyhow person. He doesn't even do that. He made us in his own image, in his likeness. And if that is so, we cannot just be floating through life. We have to believe in ourselves and believe in what God has done in us. So that was our session last week. And today, yes, we are talking about thinking outside the box. Now, there was something I posted just about an hour ago, and it talks about a 9-dot puzzle. That is where this expression thinking outside of the box actually comes from. And it's a 9-dot puzzle with a square round the 9 dots, and you're asked to connect the 9 dots without raising your pen. That's once you start at the first dot you choose, you must connect all the 9 dots, drawing lines without lifting up your pen. And most people normally will want to keep looking for how to connect those dots without going outside of the square. Nobody told you cannot go outside of the square. Remember, there was no instruction that said you must draw within the square. But because you have seen that square, the tendency is that you'll try to connect the 9 dots without stepping outside of that square. But you see, the easiest way to actually connect those 9 dots easily and quickly is that you must draw outside of that square. You must draw a line that extends beyond the square that's holding the 9 dots together. So, thinking outside of the box, what does it really mean? And how do we apply it in our career or in whatever else? Though I'm trying to be particular about career, we can also apply it in any other thing we're doing in life. So thinking outside of the box is usually used to means, being creative, being innovative, doing something different from how others, or the generally accepted way of doing it, is generally seen as approaching problems or approaching situations with an open mind and approaching them thinking unconventionally. That's different from how generally any other person would think about those problems. And it's difficult most times. If I tell you it's easy to just think outside of the box, I am not being truthful. It's difficult for us as human beings to think outside the box. But if we must truly make progress, whether in your career, anywhere, you do have to think differently. You have to think outside of the box. Thank you, Charity. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. You have to think outside of the box. You have to think in ways that are different from what every other person is thinking. You have to be able to be unconventional. You have to be innovative. If everyone is doing this way, you have to have the ability to go the other direction in your thinking. Otherwise, you will never have any real growth or any real success, because A is selling whatever, or A is a secretary and this is how she does her job. Doesn't mean you must do it that way. There must be an unconventionally different way to get that same thing done and possibly get it done better. So that is what thinking outside of the box really means. It just means being innovative, being different, being unconventional. This is what sets you apart. See, if we refer it to work, first of all, accountants are all over the place. I'm an accountant, so let me use that example. Accountants are all over the place. They are all over the place. We have how many thousands of accountants? I think 50. We've reached 50 something thousand chartered accountants. Then we have the ones that have not chartered. So accountants are everywhere. And they are working in companies. What makes me or you different from all the other accountants is the ability to think differently, to think innovatively. For your business, there are other people selling that same thing you're selling. What sets you apart is your ability to think creatively, to think differently, unconventionally. Like I said, it's not an easy thing, but if you can get that practice, or if you can get used to the practice of thinking differently from others, you will see that you'll always be set apart. You will see that you're always, having successes that others don't have. Okay, so there are a lot of things that we gain from thinking outside the box, but I don't even know if I should really bother about the benefits. But there are a lot of benefits that we garner, that we gain from thinking outside the box. Definitely, we have ideas. We have more creative ideas when we think outside the box, because we are going contrary to the norm. Of course, once you go contrary to the norm, what usually comes out is different. It's more creative most times. It's more innovative. It challenges the status quo. And that is definitely a benefit, because if two people are available and one person is coming up with creative, innovative ideas, I would prefer that person, whether in work, in business, whatever. I would prefer that person that is always thinking, differently. Because definitely it means I will get different results. I'm not talking about just thinking, some people think very silly thoughts. That's not what I'm talking about. There are some people that when they tell you what they are thinking, you will know this is just sheer silliness. That is not what I'm talking about. But being able to look at situations from a different perspective, from a different angle, and then coming up with solutions along those lines, it will always set you apart. Always set you apart. And you find that solutions that are gotten in that way usually are more effective, because they've dealt with the usual problems that may have arisen. They would have dealt with the usual hindrances that may have arisen by doing it the old way. You see, so those solutions that come from thinking outside the box usually are more effective. Okay, so And also, when you think outside the box, you discover opportunities that may have been missed. It's almost you don't even think about it really, but because you're stepping outside of the normal way of doing things, you begin to see opportunities that ordinarily would have been missed. Okay, so how do you think outside the box? Because we can say it, we can talk about it from here till next week. How do you really do it? What processes help you think outside the box? Because normally, as human beings, we are not made to think outside the box. We like the status quo, we like the normal way of doing things, we appreciate the regular way because it's easier. It's easier. Someone has charted the path. You don't want to begin to look for another new path when somebody has already created one. Let's follow the one that is there. Let's do the one that is easy. But you can teach yourself, you can train yourself to always think outside the box. And some of the ways that you can do that is one, and this one has worked for me. The first two I'm going to talk about are things that I have practiced and they have worked excellently well for me. One is to ask yourself, if I were a child, maybe let's say 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old child, how would I see this situation? What would I do in this situation? See, because children generally, ordinarily, their imaginations, they have vivid imaginations. Children, they have vivid imaginations. And naturally, they are thinking of, new things, Their mind is sharp. They are thinking of new things. Now, they're not thinking of how to complicate things. No. Children are finding easy ways to do. What sound are you hearing in the background? I don't know the sound, so I can't say what it is. The only thing that is on here is a fan. I don't know whether that's the sound you're hearing, Charity. Is it the fan? Is it the sound of a fan? If it is, please bear with me. I cannot turn off the fan right now so the heat does not finish son of man. Okay. All right. Welcome, Kelechi. Welcome. Good to have you here. So I was saying that one of the ways to help you think outside the box is to simply consider, what would a child do? What would a child do in this situation? How would a child face this situation? How would they solve this problem? What kind of solution would a child prefer? Welcome, Major. Good afternoon, Kelechi. Thank you very much for joining me. So ask, or even ask a child, even if you don't, because it might be difficult for you to put yourself in the position of, call a child. Call a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, and just give them that issue you're trying to solve. See, these children sometimes have some very profound ideas. Very profound ideas. You'll be shocked at some of the things they say, that if you actually sit down and apply them, they work. So this is one way that I have learned to think outside the box, because as adults, there's a way our brain works. We've gotten used to too many questions, we've gotten used to too many hardships, too many stumbling blocks. So when we're trying to solve a problem, those stumbling blocks show up first. But a child is not even bothered about all those things. Welcome, Blessing, Ifeanyi Okoli. Good to have you here. Welcome. Ngozi Abanelo. Welcome. Good to have you here this afternoon. Okay, so I was telling us about asking a child as a way to get yourself thinking outside the box. By the time you ask a child that question and they give you a solution, you can move from there. You can now figure out from there what to do. I've had situations where I was like, how do I solve this problem? How do I deal with this particular situation? And I tried to put myself in the position of a child. And the answers that came to me looked too simple. They look like this is too simple now. This cannot be this easy. But they were actually that easy. So put yourself in the position of a child, or get a child and ask them that question. You will be shocked at the profound solution they would give to you. Second way to help you think outside of the box is to simplify that problem, simplify that difficulty, simplify that challenge, make it simpler. I did a teaching, was it last week, Monday, I think? Yeah, I think it was last week, Monday, in my church, for business people, and I talked about vision board to them. And one of the things one of the persons there said was, man, you made this thing sound so simple. I've heard vision boards before. We've attended, seminars, because this person is someone that works in all these multinational companies. We've attended seminars in our office about vision board, but the way you presented it just sounds so simple. And it just made more sense. So you see that for you to think outside the box and get solutions, one of the things you have to do is find a way to simplify all these complicated challenges, all these complicated issues we are trying to work out. Simplify it. Make it easier. Make it in such a way that you can explain it to like a 6-year-old and they would understand. When I began to maybe preach, in fellowships or talk to people about the gospel, one of the things I asked God specifically for was to help me know how to share the gospel, so that, even if it's a child I'm explaining it to, they would understand. So you see, when you are able to explain a complicated matter or a complicated issue to a 6-year-old and they can understand what you are saying, you have simplified that thing. And when you simplify things, you can now see, will I call it, opportunities that you didn't notice in them before. You begin to see some solutions you didn't notice before, because it's now not so hard. It's not looking as difficult as it did before. It's not looking as challenging because it has been simplified. And there is no way you will simplify a challenge or a matter and then you still think like the normal way. No. Because it's now simple. It's now easy. In fact, the solutions will just be popping into your head. Of course, not all will work, but the ideas will be flowing because you have simplified that issue. You have simplified that problem. Most times we complicate issues too much. We make problems too complex. We make the matter too complex. And because it's too complex, the solution seems so out of reach. So one of the ways to think outside the box is to simplify the matter. Whatever it is, it really doesn't matter what it is. It can be simplified. It can be simplified. No matter how complicated it looks initially, it can be simplified. So simplify it, and you find that the solutions you didn't think about before, you didn't think about earlier, suddenly you're seeing those solutions. That is one, like I said, these two, thinking like a child and simplifying, I have applied them, and the kind of solutions I get when I apply this always look like, was this thing this simple? Was this thing not this, was it not as hard as I thought? Even at a point you begin to ask yourself, what was happening before that I couldn't understand this thing? Is because it was so complex in your head. It was so complex, you did not simplify it. Okay, so 1, ask a child. 2, simplify it. You will find out of the box solutions when you simplify that problem, when you simplify that challenge. Mike Openia, welcome. I'm so glad that you joined us this afternoon. All right, so we move on to another way to help us think outside of the box, and it's to, will I say to begin again? Is that the way? Ask yourself, basically, this thing that I'm facing, this problem that I'm facing, this challenge that has held me by the jugular, if I were to start it all over, what would I do differently? Or would I have done things differently? So when you ask yourself some of these questions, just like I told us when we're talking about, is it visualizing your success? Your brain has a way of forming new pathways based on what you are thinking. So as you begin to ask yourself these questions, if I were to start from scratch, whatever it is, if I'm to do this thing all over again, what will I do differently? So your brain will now begin to explore other solutions that they were not thinking of before. Timi Ojo, welcome. Florence Ngozi, welcome, welcome. So glad that you joined me this afternoon. I hope we are getting value. I hope we are understanding. I hope we are picking things from what we are discussing this afternoon. So as I said, ask yourself, if I were to start this all over again, what would I do differently? And what that does is that those complications that had arisen, those issues that had come up from however you did it before, you will set them aside unconsciously in your mind as you're thinking of what will I do differently. Other answers will begin to come. Other solutions will begin to come. Different ways of doing that same activity will begin to show up in your mind and in your heart. So ask yourself, if the opportunity were there for me to do this all over again, it doesn't matter what it is we're actually talking about. If the opportunity to do it all over again comes up, what would I do differently? And you see, your mind, see, this is our mind. This mind is an awesome tool, and we most times do not use it. We don't use it most times. We are comfortable where we are. So what would I do differently? And you will see that you begin to think of new ways, different ways of doing that same activity. Just by that alone, you see that you're already thinking outside the box. You're already, in fact, I understand that these days they even say think as if the box doesn't exist, which is true. Because from the illustration I gave us of the 9 dots, is the fact that we saw a line drawn around the 9 dots that made us think we could not draw outside of that line. It was not in the instruction. It was not told you that you cannot draw outside of the line to connect the dots without lifting your pen, but because you saw the box. So part of thinking outside the box really is to believe that the box does not exist. Erase the box, erase the boundaries, erase those hindrances, erase those things that make you think it is not possible. Remove them from the equation, and you will see the fact that the solutions, the ideas that now begin to pour out from you. Wow. You'll even doubt yourself at a point. Am I the one coming up with these solutions? Am I the one thinking up these things? Simply because you have removed the box. So ask yourself, if I had to do this over again, what would I do differently? If I had to start from point 0, not even point 1, point 0, what would I do differently? Okay, another way, this one I have not tried this. I read it up and it looked like something that would work. I will try it one day so that I'll be sure that definitely it works. While I was studying to prepare for this broadcast, I found out that if you drew some brain games, you would flex your brain muscles, and your brain muscles will begin to function differently. There were even some example of games, mind games, things that you do in your head. Is not, but one of it even has to do with writing things down. But the psychologists agreed through study, through experiments, that if you train your brain in this way, your brain begins to think differently. And it actually aligns with what we have been saying all this while. If you keep telling yourself one thing, after a while, your brain begins to bring that thing you have been saying to pass. So psychologists say that if you flex your brain muscles by doing some of these brain games, that you begin to think outside of the box as a normal way of thinking. And some of these brain is to alphabetize letters in a word. For example, the word brain now, BRAIN, that is the word. And in your head, you tell yourself to arrange the letters in brain in alphabetical order without writing it down. You're not writing this down, you're just thinking it in your head. And you begin to think, okay, A first, then B, then I, then N, then R. That if you keep doing this over and over, and you make it a practice of when you see a word in your head, you alphabetize that word, it begins to rewire your brain to think differently. Because there's nobody that sees a word and the first thing you think about is how to, rearrange it alphabetically. I don't know. I don't think in such way. And I don't know which human being normally thinks like that. So when you begin to do this and you get your brain used to that activity, it starts rewiring to think differently, to think in a way that is not the norm, the unconventional way. So that is one of the exercises that psychologists recommend to help you think outside of the box. The second one is what they call lose the letter E. I hope I'm right. Just 1 minute. Yes, lose the letter E. Okay, the way that one works, you're supposed to challenge your friends to use words in conversation that don't have the letter E. Now you can say that this is a hard one. This is a real hard game. I don't even know if I can attempt this. So you have to have a conversation with words that don't contain the letter E. You see what it does? It gets your brain thinking outside of the norm. That is the idea of this, to get you thinking outside of what is normal. There is no normal person that sits down and begins to think of words that don't have E. E is one of the most common vowels in the English language. So most words have E in it somewhere. So if you now begin to think of words that don't have E, you're making your brain think differently, which is the key, which is the plan, thinking differently. Okay. There are many other ones. One is to add some numbers, like 1 plus 1, 2 plus 3, like that, 5. You just keep saying it in your head and adding it, but you can't add 2-digit numbers. It has to be 1-digit numbers you add each time. Like I said, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 3, 5, 5 plus 1, 6. You can't say 5 plus 10. No, it has to be 5 plus 1. Even if you have reached 20 in your head as you're adding this, the next one you add still has to be a 1-digit number. You see, according to psychologists, these things work in rewiring your brain to think differently, which is the aim of thinking outside of the box. All right. One other thing that is said to work, and I think it does work, I think it actually works, is to do what is called free writing. Now, in free writing, it's like you pick a topic any topic. It doesn't matter what the topic is. And then you set a timer. Maybe you set 10 minutes, for example. Maybe that's long, 5 minutes. You set 5 minutes and you begin to write everything that comes to your mind on that topic. You are not allowed to stop until that timer goes off. The timer you set, until it goes off, you cannot stop writing. So free writing. And that helps you be more creative, because you just, whatever comes to your mind, you're not even trying to make what you're saying make sense per se. You're not trying to be eloquent or anything. Just go with the flow. Whatever is coming to your head about that topic, keep writing until the timer goes off. This practice is said to force your brain to think creatively instead of conventionally. Because conventionally, if you want to write, you put thoughts to the next thing you're going to put down. You are not just allowing things to come out of your head and you're putting them on paper. That's the conventional way of doing it. But free writing, whatever comes to your mind, you're just writing. As long as it has to do with that topic that you have chosen, keep on writing it. And in time, your brain adjusts to thinking creatively and not thinking conventionally. As I said, it's only the first two things I talked about, the ask a child and simplify, that I have tried personally. These other ones are from research, but I think they would work. I believe they would work, because even as I read them, I saw the truth in what they were saying. And the next thing that was talked about is drawing a picture. You don't even have to be a good artist, just draw. You don't have to know how to draw. Pick up pen, pick up paper, whatever you want to use, and just draw. Just draw. Because the part of your brain truly that you use to create like artwork is different from the part you use to reason. So allow that part of the brain to be active. Just draw. Just draw. Whatever you want to draw. Definitely it will free your thoughts, because when you're creating something like that, you're not really thinking about the problem or your problems or your list of issues. Definitely not. So practice drawing. It frees up your creative side. And for you to think outside of the box, you actually need your creative side to be on the up and not just your logical side. Many of us, especially people like me, our logical side is always up. Our creative side, we have so dampened it, we have so pushed it down that I wonder if it can ever come up again. But by the grace of God, it will come up. Yes, so drawing. This one, I will try it. I will definitely try this, because once they talk about drawing, I already mark X, because I cannot draw to save my life. But I will try it. I will make an attempt. I will definitely make an attempt. And the final way that we can use to help us think outside of the box is to go for a walk. This I know works. This one, I know it works. It works like magic. I don't even know how that one works. I can't even explain how it works, but I know that it works. And it's not go for a walk that you are rushing to go somewhere. Just go for a walk, a stroll. And as you're walking, thoughts just begin to come to your head, honestly. You might, as you're walking, you see a tree. Before you know it, you're thinking different things about that tree. And even some of the things you're thinking, you're wondering, why am I thinking this? Where is this coming from? I don't know if it has happened to you, but it happens to me. Once I go for a walk, and it's just a walk, an intentional walk, not that I'm rushing to go somewhere and I decided to walk. No, I just decided to go for a stroll. A lot of thoughts are running up through my head at that point. A lot of things are going through my mind. In fact, I've received solutions to problems just by walking. And as I'm walking, suddenly an idea comes to my head. I'm like, oh, this could actually solve this problem that I've been having. The only thing that most times when this happens to me, I either have to pause the walk, bring out my phone and record that solution. I just have to put it down. But if I wait till I get home, it will fly out. It will fly away. So most times if I'm going on those walks, my phone must be with me. When those ideas come, I pause, bring out my phone, say it, record it so that it is saved for me for when I will need it. All right, so with these few points of mine, I want to believe that I have not confused us. I want to believe that I have not confused us, that I have helped us to see that thinking outside of the box will always get you ahead. It will always get you ahead. There is no way there are two of you. One person is thinking conventionally and you're thinking outside the box. That is, remember the caveat I gave from the beginning. I'm not talking about thinking of crazy things. You know, there are some people who think outside of the box, but all the things they are thinking are crazy. No. I'm not talking about that kind of thinking outside the box. I'm talking about thinking creatively. Thinking unconventionally, but being creative about the thinking. We are creative beings. See, God, our Father, is a creative being. He's a creator. We too, who are his children, we create. We create. We don't have to think about creating, but we don't usually allow that side to come out. We are comfortable where we are, being the logical beings. I am not saying you throw logic out of the way. I definitely do not advocate that you don't think logically. You will think logically, but allow yourself to step out of the norm just a little bit, just a little bit. Step out of the usual way of doing things. Step out of this is how we do it. This is how we have always done it. Step out of that just a little and you will excel. You will excel because you're giving room for your creative side to come out. And as your creative side comes out, the ideas that flow out are different. And your mind begins to be rewired to allow the creative side more room. To allow that creative side to come out more. And there is no way that your creative side is working, your logical side is working, and you will not be better than someone that's just thinking one way. It's not possible. So from today, I encourage each and every one of us, think outside. In fact, think as if the box does not exist. But that is what most time hinders us, is the visibility we give to the box. The idea that we believe that there is a box that exists. Let's think as if there is no box. Let's think creatively. You know, during COVID, there's something that bothered me about COVID. I know people were busy arguing, oh, take vaccine, don't take. I wasn't bothered about taking vaccine or not taking vaccine. My problem, what troubled my spirit, is that no Christian thought to get the solution to COVID. Is it that God has become so irrelevant? I don't think he's irrelevant. It's because we're not thinking outside of the box. We are settled in the conventional way of thinking. Why could a Christian not come up, including myself? I was telling myself, I'm not just putting it on someone else. Why did we as Christians not sit down and come up with a solution to COVID? Why didn't we not tap into our inner creative being, creative self, and come up with a solution to COVID? Rather, we were busy joining discussion of whether the vaccine is of the devil or is of God. I don't know if you get where I'm going. Why do we do business as children of God and our businesses suffer the same thing as other businesses? Why are we in an office working and there is no impact? It's because we're thinking within the box. We are conventional in our thinking. God does not think conventionally. He doesn't. If you look at creation, you will see that God is a very creative being. You will see that God himself does not think the normal way that we do. So let's tap into our inner creative self. Let's tap into our sonship. Let's tap into that which has been put in us, and then bring out solutions, bring out ideas, bring out answers that will stun our world, that will change our situations and change our circumstances. Thank you for joining me once again this afternoon on Growth Habits with Ngozi. Well, this journey, we are on it, and we will get there together. We will get there together. Thank you for joining me. For those that are watching on the replay, thank you for taking out your time also to join and watch this program. Remember, every Tuesday, right here on Facebook Live. Also, take note of the link. That is our Facebook group. Yay! We are moving slowly to our permanent site. So that is our Facebook group. So please click on the link and join the group. In time, these live sessions will be from that group, not from my personal account, but we need to build it up. And then we can begin to have the live sessions from the group. So please click on that link and join the group. Remember, we also have a page, the Growth Habits with Ngozi page. Like our page. Even as you join the group, follow us on Instagram, Growth Habits with Ngozi. We are there on Instagram, and we are also on TikTok. Follow us everywhere, because this journey of growth, we are all going together, and we will surely get to a successful end of the journey. Thank you for joining me once again. Have a beautiful, oh my dear, the network has been bad everywhere today. It comes and goes. I've switched network how many times today just to get a steady enough service to complete this live session. So it's one of those things about living in Nigeria. We want to believe. You see, as I'm saying, I've just said it now, and as I'm saying it, my brain and my mind is telling me you shouldn't be saying things like this. You're supposed to find solution to these things. You're not supposed to just be saying it. You're supposed to think outside the box and find the solution. So we will find the solution to all these network problems in this nation and all the other things that trouble us as a nation. Thank you all for joining me once again on Growth Habits with Ngozi. See you next week, Tuesday, right here, 12 noon. Bye.